the world declared in one voice, we will not go quietly into the night. We will not vanish without a fight. We're going to live on. We're going to survive. Today, we celebrate our Independence Day.
It's not true. It doesn't matter what's true. It matters the story they tell when you're gone.
I keep on pushing down my gypsy road.
No, one thing you never do before a show: never eat dinner, because sometimes it goes down the wrong part of your body, and now you're coughing all up. So if I die and choke, just remember I love you guys. I love all of you. Oh shit! Here's Dr. Wu. Now, guys, hold on. I got called out for a sec. I got called out in an email saying I was never on Queen Mary. I was never on the ship. I never did an investigation. And even though I have a video on my own channel, I'm gonna show this guy so you shut the fuck up. So this is just one little clip of me on Queen Mary ship. Doing an investigation.
I did.
All right, guys. I'm on the tip of Queen Mary. I'm right here. I'm talking to the ghosts on this ship. Come talk to us. You're here. Are you? We want to see you. We want to be your friend. I want to shake your hand. So I welcome you. So far, we found nothing. And we're the only ones up here, right?
Yes.
Nobody else up here. So, show yourself. Kick me. Move me. Push me off. Let me do the Titanic scene. Rose! 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 Jack! That's it. Sorry about it. Somebody said I was on Queen Mary. I was challenging the ghost.
I don't know. It looks like it was green screen to me, Eric. I don't know, man.
Yeah, that could be fake. That was graceful, homie.
That could be faked. I don't know.
That's moon landing all over again.
Yeah, I actually was on. That was the real Queen Mary. I investigated with my son first. Caught nothing. And then I heard sometimes ghosts like women better. So I took my daughter and we went around the... Now, actually, when I posted a video of me and my daughter, I actually got a comment saying, you should never take a daughter investigating. That's a bad parent. Like, bad parent for taking your kids investigating ghosts and Bigfoots and stuff? Come on. What's the difference of going to mountains, even if you're not investigating? You never know when a Bigfoot's going to show up.
Right, yeah, that's just happens to have a chance, you know?
Yeah, that's one of the narratives I hate in the field is that, it's all demons and that you're done fucked up investigating or going to this place. And, nah. Hundreds of people go to these places every year and, they might get spooked a little bit, but they're not taking home demon with them like in the movies and shit like that. It's fun. The reason people are into this is because it's fun. And I think
it is fun. It is fun. That's why. Hey, that was the only reason why we stayed on Queen Mary, because we wanted to have fun on the ship. It's supposed to be haunted, so we stayed there. One night. Give it a shot. But hey, guys, let me introduce everybody on this panel tonight. This is the Young Guns Part 2. You got Bigfoot and Non. You got Connor. You got Tyler Howe over there. You got Matt that's watching South Florida. And Chaz, I think this is Chaz's first time on this show. And of course, you all know Dr. Wu on the bottom right.
Yes,
We
sir.
might not be young guns, but hanging out with you guys, average our age right, we might be considered young guns on an average age. Bob.
Yeah, I feel young. I always feel young. I don't care.
Now, in spirit of this, guys, the spirit of this, when I made this thumbnail, I was like, dude, I have to watch a Billy the Kid movie. I don't know why. I don't know. The thumbnail made me want to watch Billy the Kid movie. So I watched one, in my opinion, the most underrated Billy the Kid movie ever. My opinion, just in my opinion, is the movie called The Kid. The Kid to me was a brilliant fucking Billy the Kid movie. It was directed by Vincent, who played the Pigpen in the Daredevil Netflix series. Fucking beautiful, awesome movie. If you never seen it, people, you got to see The Kid. Because the director was basically taking a finger and saying, fuck you, social media. He really was. And what am I talking about? How is this related? Fucking just shut up and listen. This is how it's related. Okay. In the movie The Kid, right? Let's be honest here. Billy the Kid is a serial killer. He's a cold-blooded killer. He's a bank robber. He's a killer. Social media back in those days were stories and newspapers.
Killer for justice.
Killer for justice. They created him as a hero. And they created Pat Garrett as the bad guy, as the evil guy. The story, that, if you think about it, that's when social media really got started. Like the famous clip that I played in my intro, people don't care about the truth. They only care what they write about you. And isn't it how it is? I mean, nowadays, you got to know your friends. You got to trust your people, because this is what I'm afraid of. Say Connor goes on a Bigfoot hunt, finds the holy fucking grail of an evidence. He finds whatever it is, DNA, I don't know. He finds the fucking holy grail of a Bigfoot hunt. If he goes straight to the media, they're probably going to rewrite it and make him look crazy. Like he's
not. That's a wrap. It's gone. You hang it up. There's nothing.
Gone.
It's not going anywhere. No one will know about it.
Like he stands there and there's a Bigfoot jerking off, and he's like, there's DNA all over the place. Like, cups of it. Just bringing it back with him with a cap on it, like one of them bottles. Fill it up.
Exactly. So
DNA.
Everybody here on this panel knows what to do, but if there's any young person that wants to get into researching, trust your friends, trust your surroundings, get to know these people, because if you find something, you might want to talk to like a Connor, a Tyler, a Matt first, let them know what you found, because once the media gets a hold of it, they're going to make you sound like you're fucking crazy, and you need your friends to back you up, and also you'd be surprised how many friends won't back you up if somebody calls you crazy that's considered a big media. Or say there's a YouTube channel that has 100,000 subscribers.
Yeah.
So it's important who you know, who you hang out with, who your friends are. Because when shit hits the fan, are your friends going to stick around? That's the question.
Unless you're hunting like Bigfoot in a corduroy coat, like a lab coat, or like a nice with the stitch, the elbows, you look all clean shaven. I found DNA from a Bigfoot. It was masturbated. Then they'll take you seriously. You could say that with that jacket on, they'll take you. But any of you guys, they're all fucking hairy. They'll be like, "Oh no, what are they on?" Were you on something at the time? Yeah.
Did you hit the meth pipe before all that happened?
Well, that's
what people say. It's crazy.
The proof of burden. So it's kind of moving past all that. Yeah, you got to have that piece of evidence that has to be, in your face, and that's why this is a fun job, though, because it's not easy.
It's not easy.
I've lost some really good friends, dude, through all this.
I have a question for Matt. Hey, Matt, I was busy right before I got to turn on the show. You did an interview tonight, didn't you?
Yes, sir, I did. I did. I had Vic Cundit from Dogman Encounters. Yeah,
I went to your channel here, and I was going to put the link in it for people, but I don't see it.
Sometimes it takes some time to upload. Like
Go
I
to
can
my
see it on
community page.
Yeah, check Connor's community page. It'll probably be there.
That's a good one.
For whatever reason, there's like a I don't know, anywhere from like 12-hour to I don't know. I know sometimes it takes 12 hours.
Oh, you did an upload. You didn't do it live.
Yeah, I do my live through StreamYard. That's how I get around not being able to stream live without having 1,000 subscribers yet, and all that fun jive.
Here it is.
Yeah.
I want to get the link for people. And this one was called Live with Vic Cundiff, Dogman Encounters. So tell us a little bit about that interview. What's the main goal of that one? Who's your guest, and what did you guys discuss on it?
Vic Cundiff is one of the leading podcast channels as far as Dogman goes. And the reason I brought him on that channel was because, as you know, some people who know me in the chat, I try to do my show all inclusive. You know, and I'm slowly starting to work that into it. I know the majority of my guests that I've had on so far have been mainly Bigfoot researchers. You know, Bigfoot's the thing that got me into all this, and you know, I try to give that a little bit more love. You know, but I'm working it up to that all of these things are connected, right? So if I'm gonna sit there and I'm gonna make the blatant statement that I think that they're all connected, well, I need to start bringing people on who are able to paint that connection as well. So that's why next month the one-off show is going to be a UFO panel. Connor's going to be there. Chaz is going to be there. And hopefully we can steal some of the people maybe from Trippy Times or Chad Smith podcast. You know, all the guys that are really into the UFO. Yeah, whoever's into the UFOs and they want to come and they want to do, I want to do a big panel show. Like I want to have a lot of fun with this, lots of ideas, talking about all these different things in regards to extraterrestrials and UFOs and you know, government conspiracies. You know,
those are fun.
That's awesome.
Good.
But having Vic Cundiff on the show was it was a true honor to have him on. He was so informative. He, you know, one of the things I loved about him that was different from most of the things that I've heard about the Dogman is that, you know, you hear that the Dogman is this big, scary, vicious monster. And, you know, he got up there and he's like, listen, man, I've gotten like thousands of reports every year since like 2007. And 5 of those since then have been attacks, physical attacks. 5 out of thousands per year. So, in his best, you know, his educated opinion, they are not as aggressive as people claim that they are. You know, and I thought that was a very interesting take, and I felt that was something to be shared because there's also a huge misconception about the motives of extraterrestrials, and there's also misconceptions about the motives of Sasquatch and fairies and all these other misunderstood creatures that are here on the planet.
Yeah, especially fairies.
Well, you know, if you really think about it, I mean, nobody really truly 100% knows. I mean, how many Bigfoot encounters that people saw might not have been a Bigfoot, might have been a Dogman, or how many Dogman encounters people have, it might be just a regular Bigfoot. You know, I mean, how do you really know without actually having a Dogman body in front of you, a Bigfoot body, or whatever? I mean, you just don't know. And I mean, everybody hears, you know, they're dangerous. They're all dangerous. Do you really know? It's like when in the beginning stage of pandemic, I don't know anybody got sick. I mean, and go to the Bigfoot side. Do you know anybody got killed by Bigfoot? Do you have any friends that got slaughtered? I mean, I'm sure 90%, 98% of the people here on the chat never had, you know, doesn't know somebody who got killed by a Bigfoot. Maybe Connor does. Maybe Connor knows somebody.
Or Otterman.
It's funny you say that because I just recently heard something from an individual who I trust with his experiences and encounters. I'm not going to release his name, but he told me about a little boy not far from where he lived was killed by one of these things recently.
Oh.
Well, yeah, that's the David Politis
No,
411 narrative.
yeah,
that
this
they're taking kids.
yeah.
But I mean, that's like a story from a friend about a friend. I mean, somebody directly, like, your cousin was gone. Directly.
Right.
I mean,
Right.
we just fully don't know. So you should always keep your
you
mind
take it for what
open
it's
to all
worth.
of it.
So
Yeah,
You know,
everyone's a David Politis fan here. It's like if you're a Bigfoot hunter, you have like a David Politis, page on your, and you have Connor's book of animals. What the hell is this?
Well, how about this?
The
People
spirit
say, "Look,
guide.
I saw red eyes in the forest." Okay, you saw red eyes. What if technically that red eyes was a demon, or not a Bigfoot, a creature? I mean, you don't, or it could be a Mothman. I mean, sometimes you just don't know.
yeah.
Because
We
we
need
talked
to-
about it before, Connor. You and I talked about it before that. You might be experiencing ghosts out there in the forest and not Bigfoot. You're hearing noises, you're hearing crunch. When you go into a haunted house, you hear knocks, you hear scratching. There's a ghost is not just attracted to a house. A ghost could be anywhere.
Yeah,
People
rocking chairs
die
don't rock themselves.
Exactly.
I want to hear a little bit more about Otterman. I've never hear him mentioned. Like, there's like Mothman and you've got Wolfman, but nobody ever talks about Otterman, and that's kind of sad.
Oh, we did. We had a show on
We
Otterman.
did. We did a whole show on
Coach
Otterman.
Taka.
I just recently heard about Otterman and Catman. I heard about Catman.
Actually, in England, I was in England. I've got to go back there. There are stories of a large
The
cat.
Phantom Cats, yeah.
Yes, and
Absolutely.
I've seen it. I went out to the field. There's evidence of them. There's paws, monster. I'm like, what? Are
So
you
my-
eating?
My Florida people might find this interesting, though I lean towards it being an actual big cat, not a phantom big cat.
Yeah.
Sarasota, that's old circus land, and there's, people in Florida are weird. But out in Mayaca, I was with a group of friends, and we saw on the far side of Big Mayaca Lake what we thought was a bench. We were smoking some doozies, rowing towards it, so grain of salt. But we were rowing towards it because we thought it was a bench. We could see the slats in it, and it was big. And sure enough, this thing stands up, runs off into the tree line, and disappears. And it was a tiger. It was a giant ass tiger. And that's out in that same part of the woods where people have been seeing that Mayaca monster for a couple decades. Some weird photos and sightings, and there've been a couple strange projects being done down at the Crowley Museum down there.
Well,
Connor
Chaz-
probably
Yeah, we had
knows more about
a
that.
good time there, man.
Chaz, have you seen this, Chaz? Have you seen this about the cat? Have you seen this?
Look at. Oh my God!
Boy, cat.
That's the most dangerous big cat in Florida in all of the swamp.
Yes, it is.
It gets in your mind, guys. You guys are part of it. Better watch out. Better treat your kids and family right.
The boy cat's coming for your ass.
Yeah. But Tyler, you remember I had you take a picture of the circus trains and all that?
Yeah.
Right when we were exiting there. So it's so
Yeah.
wild. And then Eric just did a report on Mayaca. Nana Boss is leading an expedition out with Squatch in South Florida and Mayaca this weekend. It is all connected, guys. It's beautiful to be here.
Am I?
Nice.
I wasn't aware that I was, but I guess I am.
Well, I thought your mom's representing Squatch in South Florida if you aren't, but I know your mom's going to the expedition on Sunday. Are you?
I honestly, look, I'll be honest with you. My schedule has picked up a ton, and I was not. If I said that I was going, I wasn't sure that I was going. Maybe I had every intention of going, but when I accepted it, I've completely forgot that I've accepted it at this point.
I kind of did you and your mom a dual package, but sometimes you assume you make an ass out of you and me, but when
Hey,
it's
man.
a good day when we're all going into the swamp, I'm fine with it. I'll
Yo,
go
man,
Facebook.
she's totally free to do whatever she wants, man. She put me here on this earth. She could totally take me out anytime she wants. I mean, no disrespect. Like.
Hell yeah!
I'm
Shout
not-
out to our moms, because honestly,
Yes.
my mom was in that last Falling Waters hooded Sasquatch, and she was leading the hike a lot of the ways. And then Nana Boss was just another member around the campfire with me, Tyler, Stacy Brown, RPG from Expedition Bigfoot, and the rest of Outcast Paranormal. So it's amazing when you can camp with your virtual friends, and then it becomes real life brothers, and fam. It's a
And
special
real life
thing.
experiences, and not just talking about it. You actually experience them together. That's what makes it like real, dude. That's why I'm so stoked of us trying to go out soon.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
and
that's
your
gonna be
mom,
fun.
good shit, brother. Good shit.
That is awesome that your mom, she's a squatcher, or
Yeah.
cryptids. Yeah, that's awesome, dude.
Yeah, I think Bob and I only met our mom maybe 3 times.
Yeah.
Very sorry to hear that.
Not really. We if you don't know, if you never raised with you wouldn't know. It's like, oh, there's the lady that's your mom. Hi, strange person.
He left when I was a baby, and I didn't even know my mom was alive or dead until apparently she took off from Texas or something and wanted to come back to Fresno.
We're like, we have a
Mom
mom?
alive?
I thought we were like immaculately conceived or something. Shit. What does she look like?
Not taking questions.
She's a big hairy Sasquatch.
Did Paul
Yeah.
T have a question? Paul T, did you? I apologize. I haven't been staring at the chat too much. Was there a question that Paul T put
Yes.
in the chat?
A lot of people here, a lot of questions.
Connor, and his name is Senior Don Cornado. I'm trying to see if
Okay.
somebody.
Junior
Hey,
Donato, Mr. Lovato.
While we're on the topic of senior this, senior that, I want to introduce my homie Chaz to everybody, guys. This homie lived in freaking Chile, South America, searching for UFOs, alien races, and other cryptids and strange mysteries. And I heard this dude on a podcast of Creepy Unsolved and then Induced Fear, and I was on them, and they're my homies too. And I was like, dude, this guy is impressive, And I really didn't put it together that he lived down in Florida. I must have missed that part with the whole South American temple shit. But then I'm at the conference, just a daze of just the day, of course. And then here comes freaking Chaz with his book coming to my table. And that was a cryptid experience itself. That was so wild. And then for me to be able to introduce him to like Stacy, RPG, Matt, Nana Boss, Flat Rock, Tim T, the Florida fam, it was something special. And then him, his better half, and then his boss, because he's a writer for a magazine, Paranormality magazine, really cool freaking magazine. And sure enough, we're out in the parking lot drinking brewskis and burning down joints with Mikey Pipes, freaking Matt's research buddy now. So again, universes colliding, and we're in the most haunted, city of Florida, Lakeland, according to some, BS websites, of course. But we're, just enjoying the real life. And RP funding arena is legendary because one of the Kiss guitarists got electrocuted there, and then he wrote a song about it. So, it's all just sacred times, and I just want all this to be just remembered, and because I do,
Very
yeah.
cool. Let's hear about your book. Let's hear about that book. What's your story there, Chaz?
So yeah, that book follows my journey to Chile to contact this group known as the Friendship, and this is a legend that's pretty popular in South American ufology, but there wasn't really any information available on it in English, and it's a really interesting story. So there's the Friendship is this group that claims to be extraterrestrials through their limited interactions with people. And this claim is always kind of backed up because UFOs seem to be involved. Now, they're never seen walking out of a UFO themselves, but after you talk to them, there's a pretty good chance you're going to get buzzed by a UFO. And so there's dozens of these reports since the 80s of people around Chilean Patagonia interacting with this group, trading for like these weird platinum bars and gold coins, and exchange for smuggling supplies and these kinds of weird things. And again, UFOs always shortly behind them. So I actually found in the scant amount of English language information, there was a newspaper advertisement from a paper in Puerto Montt, Chile, right at the top of Chile and Patagonia. And it was a private ad, and it was written in English, and it said, "I'm the private engineer to the Friendship. I'm the private engineer who you visited in Sarasota, Florida 2 years ago. You scared me, and I didn't know who you were, but I know now, and I would like to visit your home." And, you know, I'm from Sarasota, so that kind of made it a little more real for me for whatever reason. And it was enough for me to go, okay, well, let me go check this out. And, of course, South America also has a history of these hidden Nazi groups, you know, tall, blonde, extraterrestrial scientists and things like that. This group claims to be they're masters of multiple languages, including Dutch in a couple of reports.
Okay.
Interestingly that they say Dutch and not German, but, you know, close enough.
Okay.
Yeah, so I looked into that angle. I went to a former Nazi compound that was there in Chile.
Okay, cool.
I looked into, you know, the UFO angle. I looked into the psychedelic angle, as well as looking into just the general paranormal history of Chile and Patagonia in particular. And for cryptids, man, if you're looking for especially aquatic cryptids, I don't think there's a more densely packed area in the world than Patagonia for all kinds of weird sea monsters, not only like Loch Ness type plesiosaurs, but there's shit that's super bizarre. There's this one, the El Cuerpo, the hide, and it looks like a splayed out cow hide and has eyes on stalks like a snail almost. And supposedly it hangs at the water's edge, and it'll bring down a horse or a person and drag it right into the water, like drape over them and pull them in, like a reverse fisherman's net. Super bizarre shit that's just totally out of left field, and it's hundreds and thousands of years of people seeing weird shit like that in the waters down there.
Chaz, let me ask you a question, Chaz. Let me ask you a question. Bigfoot and I and myself was on another channel, Chad Podcast, and they were talking about portals and that kind of stuff. It was very interesting stuff. Mm-hmm. These creatures and that, you know, UFO ships, you think maybe they traveling here through a portal and stuff, and maybe that's why not everybody is like seeing the creatures. They're here, then they're gone through portals, wormholes, or anything?
I think that's an interesting theory. I think there's a lot of interesting theories out there. I myself am a little cautious about saying it's this or that. What I'm pretty sure is whatever function that allows us to interact with the phenomenon, whether it's Bigfoot or aliens or ghosts, there's some kind of function that's inside our brain. It's with our consciousness. Science might say it's purely chemical, but I think most of us know there's a little more going on there. So it's somewhere in our consciousness, there's a function that allows us to interact with these creatures. And whether they're all the same creature wearing a different mask or they're all separate, it's that same function that allows us to interact with them. And I think exploring that function is really how I try to approach my research. So I like to do these psychedelic experiments and things like that to alter consciousness, because it's somewhere in there, somewhere in the gray of
I believe that.
No, it is all interesting. Connor, was it on our breaking news? We were talking about that some people take a voice box for ghosts, and they were actually trying to experiment that, trying to talk through a Bigfoot, like you would try to talk to a ghost, and they're using a voice box. And was it you and Matt? Did you guys try that? I heard, or am I wrong?
Yeah, we all tried that in Mayaca, and then I've done it on my own, and I know Matt's done beyond Ghostbox. You know, sometimes our antennas are internal, and I know Chaz and Matt are both very internally gifted, and their gifts are all their extremities are their antennas and dowsing rods and special stuff.
What do you think, Matt? When you tried it, did you seem like it worked for you by any chance?
All right. I would love to answer this question in further detail. I truly would. But Connor and I and Tyler too, we're in the process. We're in the next step of the experimental phase. It's going. It's going to full blown field testing as of the end of March.
I'm pumped.
What I can tell you is that experiment 1 and 2 was highly successful.
Oh, we're gonna have to do a part 3 of Young Guns in the future because I want to know everything about it. So Tyler, how about you? Have you heard anything about using a voice box trying to speak to a Bigfoot?
Oh yeah, for sure. I actually didn't really know much about a spirit box period until I was down there with Stacy Brown and Connor and Matt and Noda and all them, and we went to the Tatum house, and Stacy bust out the spirit box and kind of gave me a breakdown of what it was, and he kicked that bastard on, and it started doing static or whatnot. And I remember he asked it a question. He said, "How many people are here?" And it was just static thing here, dominant 3. And I was like, "What?" And like, he would ask it a name, and a name would come out. It was wild. And ever since then, I've thought about it. And Connor's mentioned it before. Using a spirit box to communicate. I listened to a podcast of you guys up in the Carolinas. I think it was North Carolina, and they use a spirit box to communicate with a Bigfoot, and they get really good interactions with them. It's worth a shot. I'm so down for that.
I learn something every day. I'm learning stuff from the Young Guns here. I mean, I never thought about using a spirit box on a Bigfoot. I really haven't.
Me neither.
Maybe it's because Bob and I can't afford a spirit box. Is that what it is, Bob? We can't afford one?
Well, I got an app on my phone. I used it in the cemetery. It worked great. Worked too good. I shut it down. I taped it. I had to shut it down. I wasn't, believe me, I'm not scared of anything. I don't give a fuck. But there was a female in the group, and it was specifically making remarks about the female, and those remarks were getting crude. And I'm not saying them on here, but they were getting pretty bad. And I said, I gotta shut it down. Why? Safety reasons, man. Because whatever. I didn't tell the gal. I didn't tell her. And she's one of the camera holders. She's like, why are we quitting? I said, she was freezing anyway. Her hands were frozen. She kept having to stop because one of her hands switched hands. And I said, and I got the box, and I'm like, I'm not saying it. Let's go ahead and get out of here, and I'll talk about it later when we're away from here and everybody's relaxed. And I had to tell her, I said, hey, this thing was making some pretty sexual, crude comments about you. It was talking about you a lot. I said, that's so wild. Shut it down.
I do want to do a fast shout out because Amber Paraworld wants to do a paranormal panel next Wednesday. Ooh. And Roman Biscotti, I want you back on. I'll try to get New York. I'll try to talk to Nicole Bell. So since I see her in the chat, I just wanted to say, clear your calendar for next Wednesday.
Wow.
That's cool. Sick.
Big paranormal panel.
Yeah, I'm down to watch that. That'd be good.
Yeah, Roman was the one with the ET pictures, man. Right?
Yeah, for sure.
Have you guys tried the paranormal, the 2 sticks, whatever? I forgot what they call them.
Yes, the dowsing rods.
Yeah.
You guys tried? Have you guys tried the rods out on a Bigfoot hunt? Or is that going to be in a Young Guns Part 3 video?
That's gonna be. That's gonna be in the part.
Matt, you can tell the people what the documentary is going to be called and what we're working with right now.
All right, you know what? Let's just do it. Let's just get it all out in the open. Let's just reveal it. So, long story short, the film is going to be called From Fear to Understanding, and the reason for that is that most people, these cryptids and paranormal and the extraterrestrials, the first human reaction is to fear what they don't know, right?
Exactly.
And the only way that you go from fearing something to not is to start to understand what it does, right? So the basis of the documentary is that we're going to be doing, what's the right way to word this without like just freaking blowing it out of the water?
I know, it's a documentary.
We're gonna be doing, all right, so Gypsy, remember how we all were getting on and we were supposed to be doing a show about how the paranormal techniques could be used in Bigfoot hunting?
Yeah.
Well, that's what we're doing. We are trying to mix all of these experiments together. The first 2 times that we've done it so far were highly successful, and we have it all filmed. We have it all filmed from multiple different angles. We have it on timestamps of when the initial beginning of the test started and how the result came out. So that was for the first 2. Now the next level of the experiment is what we're going to be doing in March. Is we are going to basically take that on the road. We have a specific area in the Panhandle, multiple spots, and we're going to basically be selecting our spots based off of what divination techniques say, and then we're gonna go there, and then we're gonna do a bunch of random experiments. I'm gonna be trying to channel things myself. I'm gonna be opening myself up to possible telepathy interactions because I'm capable of those types of things. We're gonna. Whoa.
Big kitty.
Yo, he's nuts. But we're gonna be doing balls to the wall, out of the box research, and what we're gonna do is we're gonna be doing that for instead of doing what some people like to do, where they do like big expeditions in one single area, we're gonna do small targeted expeditions in a wide area to see if we can replicate the results in multiple different places and to see how accurate those results. We're going to ask the same number of questions in the same way in 5 different locations within a week span. And we're going to see those results, and we're going to publish those results no matter what they are. If it's like only 75% accurate, or if it's 60, or if it's 100, it's going to be released. So,
wow.
This is what I think you guys need to do. You need to get Connor, take all your experimental stuff, get in your vehicle, fuck the states around you. You need to come to Washington, the #1 Sasquatch sighting state, and do your experiments in our Olympic mountains. And I'll be there with you guys.
Well, that's phase 3.
Yeah, that's phase 3. My brother, his wife, they own a cabin up in the mountains up in West Virginia. They have like almost 200 acres. Well, they're like a primitive cabin with just a wood burning stove, no running water, out there in the middle of fucking nowhere. And they told me I have free access to go there whenever I want. So, and there are some stories that come from them hills, man. It's wild.
Yeah. I've been up to West Virginia, and it's definitely one of the eeriest places. I think one of the I go to a lot of haunted locations, and I gotta admit, 90% of the time it's just some building. I'm very rarely impressed. But I went to a place out there called the Silver Run Tunnel, and it's a horse trail now, just off of this tiny town called Cairo. Man, it looked like the setting of a David Lynch movie. It was bizarre. It was weird. Like the city, going through the city, it's cut in half by this deep gorge and this river. There's like a neighborhood and then downtown, and you got to drive through both to get to the tunnel. Bizarre.
We almost bought a house in West Virginia.
Yeah, you did.
We were living in Frederick, Maryland, and Frederick's way too expensive to buy a house. I'm talking about way too fucking expensive. And West Virginia is just like down the road.
Yeah.
The houses in West Virginia are way cheaper. But then we decided that I hate Maryland. So we want to get the fuck back to the West Coast because Bob, you hated Maryland too. It was just...
Yeah. Well, I hated D.C. I mean...
DC, yeah. Yeah, we liked Gettysburg. That was fun.
Yeah. I worked in D.C. Can't talk about too much about that, but yeah, that was fucked up.
But I almost got a house in West Virginia.
Shell.
Almost.
Oh, yeah.
Would I would have stayed? That's the question. Would I would have stayed if I bought the house?
Yeah, Eric, I was with you when you were looking at houses there. We went to those really small towns, like a weird small town. Like it was some eerie looking little town.
Yeah, and then we went to Pennsylvania, met up with the worker, some beers, looking at some houses there for some beer drinking.
Yeah, I like it. It's like you said, it's a whole different kind of weird place. Kind of
like
cool.
You said, there's so much forward. There's so much to explore, and it's such an older part of the country where, I mean, that's where the shit is. That's where majority of the population
also
is.
A bit of a bummer though. Like if you're looking for bars and the nightlife, good luck.
You ain't getting that. You ain't getting that.
I went to Point Pleasant because you have to. It's like a paranormal mecca.
That's Mothtown, isn't it?
Right. That's the Mothman stomping grounds where they have the museum and the big statue with the nice ass.
And the parade they do every year.
The parade.
Yeah, the festival. Though I think last year they canceled, and I don't know if they're doing it this year. To be announced, I think, is
everything is to be announced.
So we'll see about that. But I went, and the museum's cool. It's rough though. It wasn't. People didn't seem like they were having a lot of fun. I'll just say that. In general.
Maybe that's why we didn't buy a house. We wanted.
Yeah. You'd be stuck there. You'd be like, "Oh, we'll see you later. I'm going back to the West."
But I think one of the biggest eye opener for me being on that East Coast is really the graveyards, because we have graveyards here on the West Coast, but you go back on the East, man, they got some statues. They got some spooky shit.
Oh.
It's like West Coast is boring. Our graveyards are boring. You guys got the big, the big.
So again, another good West Virginia one. Again, super backwoods, middle of nowhere, tiny graveyard off this super old church. There's a woman buried there who famously is the Greenbrier ghost. And she died, I don't know, 1826, something like that. And she fell down the stairs. And a week later, her ghost appeared to like her mother and her sister and said, "No, my husband killed me, dig me up and check." And they did another autopsy, and again it's the 1800s, so who really knows? But they did sentence the husband to death, and it's this only time in record U.S. history where a ghost's conviction or a ghost's testimony led to a conviction, and she's buried in a graveyard in West Virginia.
Wow.
That's just like the people who have the past life memories who come back and they turn around and say, "Hey, listen,
a murder,
they so and so killed me." That happened over in India. Like a 5-year-old boy was like, he seen a man walking the street and he's like, "He killed me in the past life. He killed me in my last life."
And he knew where the murder weapon was hidden.
He found it all, and he got freaking convicted, man.
Yeah, and they usually have a birthmark. It's usually a birthmark where the wound was.
Yep.
I think the kid had the birthmark. Eric has a birthmark. I joke about Eric had his ankle shot sometime when he was in a past life. Big old one. Big old brown spot, Eric. Not like a mole, but it's an actual birth colored mark. I go, "You were shot, dude. Somebody shot you in the ankle in a past life, blew your foot away."
Yeah, never know.
Yeah.
Listen, man, there's so much to be undiscovered about this world behind the world, the veil, the whatever you want to call it, man. It's real. If you really look into yourself and you look into your soul, You can't freaking deny that stuff. And no matter how much science, no matter how much political crap is thrown at people like us, everybody in their heart, whether their minds are awake to it or not, they know that there's something out there. If they didn't, they wouldn't be so interested in things like horror movies and Avenger movies with people with powers and people that are in the image of gods, and there wouldn't be so many people chasing religions all over the world. Like, listen, majority of society might be dumb to it, but our hearts, they yearn for that stuff. And it shows in everything that we idolize in pop culture. And I don't care what anybody has to say, man. If you're willing to sit there and go, okay, let's look at the big picture here. Let's look at the big picture, right? No one knows where we came from. No one understands exactly how evolution works. No one is 100% certain whether the Bible's real, whether the Bible's not real. We can't say. We can't say that we're not stuck in a simulation. We can't say that we're not the descendants of the great creator. We can't say that stuff with definitive hard proof, because guess what? We only have written record for what, Bob? Maybe 4,000 or 5,000 years?
Barely that.
Barely that.
Barely that. And that's only a guess. Because you can't date a hieroglyph. You could just take a guess.
And you can't and anything written by man not going to be 100% truthful. Let's be honest.
I'm finding so many lies.
Everybody is story creator,
Everybody's got their flair, man. Everybody has to put a little bit of because guess what? Nobody remembers the dull truth. Everybody will always remember the flamboyant lie.
Well, yeah, the victors write the books.
There you go.
So, it's just how that rolls. You're reading a book from the victor. In fact, because we have this biological thing inside of us, it's called fight or flight. Your ancestors, more likely than not, I hate to say it to people, ran. And that's why you're alive today. The fighters are dead. You're alive. However, not all true, and everybody's, my great-grandfather was a soldier, and yeah, fantastic. Majority and statistically, your ancestors ran. And they ran from something. And so those stories are there's smoke, there's fire. Connor and I could go for hours to talk about mythology, and I can tell you there's stories in antiquity that match up to what we're talking about. The unicorn does exist. It did exist. It is, and it's coming back, and they're going to end up finding it one day. It's going to be here. Just recently we found out that the dolphin is more related to us than possibly the monkey. And then now we're talking, there's debates. Now it opened up a whole new fucking barrel of monkeys. There you go. We could have came from the dolphins, which is the reason why we have salt blood and blah, blah, blah. Oh, my God, here we go.
No, you were talking about unicorns. I was at a grocery store. They even got a unicorn on a Kraft macaroni cheese box.
Oh, absolutely. Unicorns are everywhere. They're everywhere. They're everywhere because people are still practicing magic. They're worshiping gods, plural. Yeah.
Look, one store, I was seeing unicorns everywhere. This is a unicorn cookie cutter.
Everywhere.
Yes.
They're showing up everywhere.
It hurt. Bob, I was
They've
at a
always
store
been everywhere. Am I
took
missing
this picture.
something?
You can't get enough unicorn. Give me more unicorn.
All right.
No, I just walked in the store
unicorns.
like, unicorns? They are coming out everywhere.
Everywhere.
And what's going to happen now is that you guys just showed me all that, and now I'm going to start seeing unicorns everywhere, and it's going to drive me insane.
You will.
That's how it goes.
I had to be careful with Eric. I can't tell Eric certain things. I had to stop because Eric started to see them. In fact, he started seeing them so much.
Yeah, Bob was seeing these numbers. And everywhere we fucking drive, there's the numbers, there's the number, there's the number, there's the number.
Even Eric's wife is a skeptic. She's a skeptic in the car, and she's silent as Eric pointed out the numbers, and she goes, that house is a 13. And where she's right next to the house, it's a 13. I go, I told you. What street are we on? 13. Of course, that house. Then we keep seeing the 33s and all the numbers. And Eric started going through his pictures of his high school years. He's wearing a 13 jersey. He's never owned one before. And he's like, I have a 13 jersey on. I go, I told you. Popping up everywhere.
Yeah, man. That's the synchronicities that everybody tries to say don't exist. All you have to do is open your eyes to the possibilities that the synchronicities are there, and then your life will just be flooded with them. You just have to be open-minded enough. Open-minded enough to be able to get away from yourself, to get away from what society tells you, and just look at the world around you. The synchronicities will line up, and they will point you in the direction that they want you to look.
Yeah.
And because it's not about where you want to look; it's about where you're being guided.
So people ask me, they'll be like, "So everything you encounter, what happens in the woods?" And they're like, "How often do you go out there?" I was like, "I'm out there 5 days a week. I put in some solid hours out there doing my thing." And they're like, "Everything you hear and see, you think it's legit?" I was like, "Come find out for yourself. You want to experience what I'm experiencing?"
Question for Tyler: where is Tyler's area in WVA?
West Virginia.
If not too personal.
Oh, I answered that in the chat. But
you did? Okay.
Yeah, I can't remember though. I'd have to get a hold of my brother. But yeah, it sounds like some prime real estate.
Yeah, don't tell anybody anyway. So keep that quiet.
And guys, while we're on the topic of Tyler Howell Outdoors, for the people that don't know who he is, he had a famous Bigfoot encounter here in the Florida Panhandle, and then I heard about it in a newspaper article, and I ended up trying to call him and reach out to him, and then it fell through. I was trying to call him at work. I'm sure a lot of people call him at work, bother him, and then sure enough, we're at Mayaca, and this cool guy is camping by himself. He flew there from Pensacola. I thought that was like super crazy. And then, man, he starts telling his story. I'm like, dude, I think I know this guy. And then the rest is history. But Tyler, can you tell us how that all happened? I know you had a childhood encounter. Let the people know who you are and what your channel is and what the heck else is coming other than a documentary.
Yeah, so I've been hunting and fishing my whole entire life. I've spent a lot of time in the woods growing up with my dad. Teaching me, how to trail a deer, where they live, what they eat, what they drink, how to hunt them and kill them. And so in the woods, you get so adapted to that environment, you get used to hearing what's normal and you tone it out, like a car driving by or sirens going by. You hear it, but you zone it out because it's normal. But over the years, I would hear things that I'm like, that's just not normal. And eventually, to make this long story short, about my childhood encounter, pretty much I was sitting in my tree stand and it was getting dark. And I could hear something moving down the creek, and I could hear water being moved, like displaced. It's like if you're belly high in the water and you got to get to the hill real fast, you're going to pump your legs, to get there. You're going to move that water. It's going to make noise, especially when you hear a pin drop. And it's getting dark to where I could barely see the ground. It's when I started to hear it. Well, I hear it come out of the water, and it stops. And I hear what sounds like kind of like rain or like a sprinkler, just kind of like real quick on the leaves, just for a brief second. And I was like, it sounds like rain. But then I thought about it. I was like, wait a minute, that's like water dripping. And I hear coming through the woods. Well, at this point in time, it's dark. And moon's coming up. I'm sitting in some planted pines, and the planted pines started on a ridge, and the creek was down here, and it was coming out of the creek. I hear it coming up the hill, and about 4 to 5, I believe, pine trees down, I can see the silhouette of something, shoulder sticking out each side of a tree, and I can see breath just coming outside of the tree, man. And I started to shake. And my dad, he's in my ear because we had a radio with the earpiece in. He's like, come on, get back to the truck. I was like, all right, I'm coming down. Well, eventually, whatever it was, it left. But I did leave one little detail out. When it was coming out of the creek, it stopped. for maybe 5 seconds. And then it made like a beeline straight to my tree. Like it had a rope and it was just coming to my tree. And that's when it stopped. And that's when I seen the silhouette and the breath. But eventually it went away after like maybe, it felt like 10 minutes, but it could have been 1 or 2 minutes maybe. My adrenaline was just flowing. Well, I get down out of my tree and my climbing tree stand, you put it together like a backpack. You put it on, you pull the straps, so you can take it wherever and hang it on a tree. And I'm walking out of the woods, and I'm walking down this old dim road. I can hear something coming back out of the creek, and it's like catty-corner to me. Like I'm walking straight, and it's coming at an angle. It's crossing a lot of real estate in a hurry because I know the distance to that creek. And it got to where it was following me like step for step. Like I would walk and stop and you hear right behind me. I'd walk a little bit, stop, and you hear right behind me. It was mimicking my steps. And I had a 30-06
Good.
With 4 shells in it. And I didn't know what to do at this point. I was 13 years old. I played football. My dad raised me up, don't be a wuss, suck it up, be a boy dog. And I was scared, dude. I was crying. I was trying my damnedest to be quiet. And as I'm getting out of the pines, there's a sage grass field that goes all the way to the truck. And I take one step out of these pines and something yelled, roared, screamed, hollered, whatever you want to call it. And it was like if you're at a concert and you could feel it, like the sound hitting you. That's what it felt like.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and so high-speed internet didn't come about until I was in high school, and YouTube blew up, and I started hearing audio of things I have heard in the woods growing up my whole life, and never thought anything of it.
Wow. Now you know.
Now I know, yeah.
Yeah, screeching. They make a screamy, weird sound.
Yeah, man.
Like a weird, hello, bellowing. They must have a huge thorax, man.
Yeah,
And then Tyler, could you talk about your footage? It got more than 30,000 views on YouTube, and then more than 100,000 on TikTok. Crazy.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I was hiking in the woods that day. I managed a restaurant in Destin, Florida on the beach. And so I stayed busy. So I couldn't have the time to put in the woods deer hunting. I was married. I have a 6-year-old son. In deer hunting, it takes a lot of time. You got to hang stands. You got to look for signs. You got to go sit in a tree and all the way till dark to see when deer start moving. It takes up a lot of time. And so I just started hiking just so I could be in the woods, because that's like my place to be. When I go to the woods, like all my problems go away because I'm so worried and focused about what's going on around me. I don't think about all my problems and shit, and it actually really helps me figure out my problems, which is weird. But yeah, I was hiking, coming out of the woods. I had about 30 minutes to kill till I had to pick up my son from the bus. So I pull up on these power lines. I'm sitting there in my car, and I'm just looking out across these power lines, and just here come something walking out, black, bipedal, just walking. And before I started recording it, I watched it for a few seconds, and it stopped and was picking something, like it was trying to pick stuff up, and it was walking along the creek. And I'm like, that's not normal. People don't do that. This is a Wednesday afternoon. It's 36 degrees outside with 15, 20 mile an hour gusts at times. I'm the only dumb son of a bitch out here walking around. And it was just jet black, man. And just the way it moved, it's hard to see it from the video, but from my naked eye, the movement of it was just not normal. It went from one end of this power line to the other, from one tree line to the other across it in a hurry. I got out of my car and maybe walked 10 steps. This thing was already halfway across.
Wow.
Yeah,
Big
a
strides.
lot of people believe it was a juvenile.
Wow.
But I got back in my car and I FaceTime my mom, and she answers the phone and she's like, "You look like you just seen a ghost." And I'm like, "Mom, I don't know what I'm looking at, but something's looking at me." And at this point in time, I wish I would have been filming it. It was rocking between two trees, like swaying on the tree line. And I'm like, that's not somebody. People don't do that shit, man. And yeah, it was weird.
Wow, man. That's cool. At least you got to see twice then. You actually got to see it twice. An object, an unidentified walking object. UFW.
Hey, Tyler, could you tell the people, might as well for the trifecta, you know, effing tripod, like we were saying before. What about your dream in Mayaka? Because I'm big on, you know, it goes beyond the realms of just this existence with our eyes. But yeah, what happened with your DMT dream?
Yeah, so me, Connor, Matt, Stacy, Nona Boss, and a few other people from Outcast Paranormal, Josh, we were camping. We were down there at the Crowley Nature Museum. They were letting us camp on a little like area back there, kind of secluded, you know. It was a really good time. But I'm laying in my tent. I'm asleep. And I had this dream. It was so real. And I have dreams a lot, but this was probably the realest dream I've ever had. And I'm asleep, and I can hear something, you know, moving outside my tent. So I unzip my tent, kick on my flashlight, and I shine it over there, and I can see a set of eyes glowing. And then I kick on the light away from it a little bit, and I can see a hand just kind of move, doing this, like telling me to come here. And then I woke up. And then once I woke up, we were hearing commotion outside the tent. Acorns were being thrown at the tent. We heard like monkey chatter in the woods. Matt got some good audio. It was a good time, man. It was
that was pretty wild.
Yeah.
And what was strange was that same night that he had this dream, we got all this stuff on my audio recorder that I was hanging out outside the tent, right? But in the middle of the night, around the same time that he was probably having this dream, I was super exhausted. I had got up in the middle of the night to take a leak, and I can't even, I don't know how the best way to describe it is that like I knew that my eyes were open, but when I'm looking through the darkness and I see this gray, wispy figure right there in front of me, but it had to have been bigger than me. And I'm sitting there like, oh God, I gotta hurry this up. And of course I'm taking the longest leak of my life at this point, and I'm freaked out, and I'm like, what is going on here? And like, you know, I couldn't necessarily, I'm not going to sit here and say that I for sure seen one that night, but there was some strange stuff going on that night. Me and Tyler seen a UFO that night. Right, you know, we were hearing howls from the camp. Yep. We were sitting there around the fire, it was like 1 o'clock in the morning. We're all, you know, starting to kind of tucker out for the night, and we just hear a banshee howl come off from the distance, crack off, and we were like, yep. Wish I had my recorder going at that moment.
Right. There's Stewie's third cousin hollering at us.
Can I ask what shape UFO was it?
It was like a red orb. It was like reddish orange.
It was I have never seen that color reddish orange in the sky in my whole life. That's the best way I could put it. But it was putting off a vast amount of light, and it almost kind of seemed like it pulsated at bits and times. It was late. Eyes could be playing tricks, you know. But the light for sure, man. That I have never seen a light like that in the sky. That's all I could really say.
And the cool part about it was that we sat there and we watched it for about 10 minutes, and it was in between Orion, the middle and bottom notch of Orion's belt, and it was going back and forth from either side of the belt.
Wow.
And it was sitting there just doing this. So we finally were like, we're all sitting there, we're watching it, and we're trying to debunk it, and we're all sitting there having this conversation about it. And we're like, well, you know what? We're only like 20 yards from the road. Let's walk out to the road. So we walk out to the road, and lo and behold, it's gone. You know, we couldn't see it anymore through the thick tree tops of that trail. So by the time we got there, it was gone. Well, we pull up to the campsite, and there, you know, we had two ladies that had stayed behind, and we said, "Oh, did you guys see or hear any, Sasquatch or whatever?" And they go, "No, but we did see a red UFO fly away from Orion's belt."
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That was pretty neat.
that was the thing that like sealed the freaking deal, because it was like, all right, we weren't just seeing some stuff, like somebody else seeing the same exact thing streak across the sky away from that area at the same time we were heading back to camp.
So earlier that night, me and Stacy, I can't remember who else. Were you with us and your mom when we went hiking down that creek?
Yeah.
Do you remember when Stacy was doing, some calls, and I'm just standing there listening. I'm looking through the treetops, and there's a fork in the limb. And I was like, Stacy, I was sitting there watching it for a minute, and it looked like a star was just bebopping in between these two limbs, like up in the sky. But I'm like, what the hell is that? And I'm like, Stacy, come here. He comes over here and he's looking. I'm like, look between that fork right there. And he was watching. He's like, dude, what is that? And we went out to the road, and we could still see it, and just went off, dude.
It was wild, man. And then we went to the Tatum house, and we had all kinds of freaking paranormal experiences. And both nights that we were there, and it was just absolutely bananas. But the one thing that I gathered from that was that it's all somehow connected. I don't know what that connection is. I'm going to do my best to use my life and my knowledge to be able to prove whatever that is, if I'm ever so lucky. I'm going to give it my best. But, it's look, if we're just going to talk about Bigfoot, and we're going to talk about the paranormal, and we're going to talk about UFOs, we have all this supposed data, and we've had the same supposed data for the last 50 to 60 years. It's about time we start using some out of the box ways to try and friggin' figure this stuff out. Because I'm tired of seeing the same prints. I'm tired of seeing the same films. I'm tired of seeing
grainy footage.
Yep.
You know what I like about Matt? I don't know if Matt will notice this. When Matt, first time he was ever on this show, it was before Young Guns 1. He was on it before. Remember, Matt, you weren't really too much want to be paranormal. You want to say more Bigfoot. And listening to you from there to now, where you have started to experiment with paranormal, you talk about it with more confidence. You have gone a long way since the first time you were on here, where you didn't really care a lot about the paranormal. You show some real growth. That's a compliment to you.
So here is. It's not that I didn't believe. It was strictly on the fact of I don't want something bad happening to me. I've had bad paranormal experiences in my lifetime, and I did not want to do any I'll do the safer versions of the spirit, as far as paranormal research goes, necrophonic app, and all the dowsing rods, spirit boxes, things like that. But you will never catch me trying to summon something or open a portal or mess with Ouija boards.
Never say never.
No,
you're gonna build confidence in yourself. And one day I can see you try to open a portal. I don't know why.
Yeah.
Doing all that shit. I did,
dude. And then the next week I'm gonna come on your show, and then I'm gonna be fucking batshit crazy, and I'm gonna be possessed.
Bad juju, brother.
Yeah, no, I don't want that
people
juju.
That came on our show that became crazy. That happened before. Bob, huh?
I gotta ask about the Tatum house, because I've been trying to get someone to tell me this story. Is that where you guys use the ghost code device?
No,
thing?
that's in Stacy's film. We did not use that ghost code device during that expedition, but they've included that in their film, and that's something that they're working on. So keep an eye out for Outcast Paranormals. I don't. Did you get to watch the premiere at Lakeland?
I didn't get to catch it. No, I had.
Well, it should be coming out sometime this year, and it'll be. They're doing it in a 3-part series, so it's going to be awesome.
Yeah, I'm trying to get my hands on one of those devices. Interesting theory. I have a case. I can't get into it because of legal reasons, but I have a case that may prove said theory.
Oh, Chaz, it's all right. On this channel, you're free. You can say it all. Don't worry about legal.
No.
It's
on my end. No. I don't want to get jammed up. It'll be a project that I'll be able to talk about when it's finished.
Okay.
Everybody with their projects.
Well, it's the state that's jamming me up on this one, so.
Understandable. Well, Gypsy, to kind of touch on what you were saying, man, I have grown a lot, but one of the things that happened to me in my ACA and happened to me with, since I've had Amber get involved in my life and all these different things is, man, I'm already talking like Connor. He's got me drinking for the Kool-Aid. I ain't gonna lie. Don't get me talking about the firmament and the creator. Connor's, his, what's that? That's his tagline right there. But anyway, there has been a lot of growth. It's been a lot of soul searching. I've done more meditation and spiritual awakening than I've ever thought possible. I'm honing into my abilities, my natural God-given abilities. Yes, I'm avoiding opening portals. I will not do it, not willingly anyway.
Yeah.
If I somehow break the veil and open a portal,
I'm open a portal. I'm sorry.
I'll give it a shot. Hey, I tried to possess a doll on my channel before. It didn't work, but I tried.
Sometimes it has to be done.
Well, we know that
is made to be opened.
Well, you can use peanut butter apparently to fight off demons. We found that out from another guy. It comes on our show.
Oh yeah, I remember you guys telling me about that.
That's wild.
Peanut butter. I'm like, peanut butter fights off demons? I guess
you're talking about our buddy clowns.
Yeah.
Lime juice works as good as salt.
Oh, whoa. Okay, share a little bit. Go ahead. Tell us a little bit. Wait. So peanut butter to fight off demons. One guy used that. Oh, you're saying lime juice?
Yeah, lime juice, that's actually goes back to, they use that in Palo Santo in Venezuela and Cuba.
Okay.
What?
Peanut butter.
Yep. Lime juice. You'll see hoodoo and voodoo. They might use lime juice in that same capacity as salt circles and things. Lime juice circle works just the same. Throw a lime in your beer, keeps bad spirits away.
Okay. And salt, lime juice, peanut butter.
So is that why they put lime in Corona?
No, that's to cover up it's because the glass bottle, I lived in Mexico for almost 3 years. The clear glass bottle makes the beer get skunkier quicker, or at least it used to. And so they put the lime in it to cover up the skunky taste.
Hey, Bob, peanut butter cookies, does that count? This has peanut butter cookies. Does that count for peanut butter?
I want to hear this peanut butter thing. I've never heard that before.
This guy is great. He only hunts demons. He's a demon hunter. He goes out. He does like you guys. He does a van he travels around and goes to places and brings he made his own box and his equipment. He brings peanut butter because sometimes he said he smells the sulfur that comes in the air, and he says, okay, it's close, it's over. And he starts yelling at it, and he said he uses peanut butter to kind of hold it back if it gets too close. I'm like, oh, shit.
Damn.
But
yeah.
You know what?
They just don't like peanut butter? I
don't. You have to ask him. That's why I'm asking you about the lemon
I got to get him back on.
Yeah. We should bring him on one day. There's other guys on, and you guys can talk to him about what he does.
That's a first for me. I've been doing this a while. That's a first.
So I never really got into the paranormal stuff, actually, until I met these two guys, and we went to the Tatum house. And Stacy, he asked me, he said, man, you ever had any paranormal encounters? I said, no. He's like, well, you're about to. And I was like, hell yeah. And once all that happened at the Tatum house, that's when my mind opened up to so many different possibilities, because some of the stuff that was going on was some of the most bizarre shit I've ever seen. But the responses and to actually see it versus just people telling you, it's like, oh my God, it's crazy. And ever since that happened, man, the paranormal side has really opened up in my brain. It's
connected.
I definitely started more traditional paranormal. I'm kind of on the reverse of you guys, and have worked into more Bigfoot stuff. I think though I'm not too heavy on the big furry guy. I do have some research here and there.
It's different for everybody.
But I think he's important. I think he represents kind of to what I was saying way back at the beginning of the show. To people really take it super serious. Paranormal stuff.
Well, Bob and I grew up. Bigfoot was just part of a normal conversation. Everybody in our family respected Bigfoot in the woods.
Well, and that's
Bigfoot was talked about like a bear. So in our family, nobody was scared of a Bigfoot. Nobody was scared of stories, because it was just hey, you guys go out in the woods, watch out for bears, watch out for Bigfoot. I mean, it was just so normal that
watch out for Bigfoot.
You didn't even think about investigating Bigfoot, because it was talked about like regular animals.
Yeah,
So
we always had respect for it.
Right, and I think the Bigfoot community has, on the whole, been a little more open-minded and lighthearted than some of the other paranormal communities. I mean, especially when you think about
Don't eat crystals.
about
Crystals are better than peanut butter.
The ghost hunters and stuff, and all the demonology, and they take that really seriously.
Oh yeah,
and I see where they're coming from. I hear you. But because something moved on its own doesn't mean any of that. Like, there's a super leap that's made in a lot of those ghost cases. The argument for UFO cases, I can actually kind of hear that one more, because there's obviously a connection between UFOs and cattle mutilations. There have been a couple human mutilations.
South America.
But Chaz, let me ask you about UFOs.
Yeah, I was going to ask you that question, Bella.
You know a lot about UFOs. Now, I've always said UFOs is probably one of the hardest ones to ever try to prove, just because it's so high up. I mean, it's not like, you hear a creature hearing sounds. UFO. So Chaz, what are you like technically listening to for them to tell you that, hey, they might have really seen something? I mean, is there clues that you listen to when people tell UFO stories to you?
Well, it's of course always having more witnesses, the larger group, backup witnesses, separate groups seeing it. That always is nice. Rings well in the ear. You always want to hear that. But really, on top of that, it's more about finding cases that have the kind of high strangeness associated with it that I've come to kind of expect with cases that are more hands-on, when there's a more dialogue between the phenomenon. I think most people, when you ask them if they've seen something weird or strange, most people say yes, and I think a good majority of those are UFO sightings, because there's some weird shit in the sky, and I think it's becoming more and more of a reality. One of the interesting things about Chile, in regards to UFOs, people often are currently talking about the Navy UFO videos that the U.S. released. But the Chilean government has had a public UFO investigation wing for decades, and they've been churning out videos on par with those Navy videos for years. Super weird, super bizarre stuff. These UFOs dumping gases and leaving weird trails and things like that. No, I think it's becoming a reality, and it is, at least for the military, where these things are real and they're having some kind of impact. Now, there's a lot of dialogue and conversation about what that impact is, but it's definitely something.
But now, Chaz, you said the military. Now, Bob and I were both in the military, and we know that the military is only going to let people see stuff that they know that they're not going to. They're not going to show anything that's 100% real.
Well,
they're just not. Military is not.
Yeah, if they're they want you to see it.
Like when Bob and I were talking a long time ago, like when you heard that one video of pilots talking, pilots has got a protocol. They're officers. Pilots are officers. Private pilots are not enlisted men. They're they have a lot on the line. So there's protocol. They break protocol, they'll lose rank or get expelled. So
you can't talk that way.
Yeah. So people say military released this. No, military didn't release nothing. It's being it's manipulated by the government because they're not going to release anything that's 100% real.
Yeah, they don't go, "Hey, wow, man, did you see how it turned on its wow? Oh, wow!" No, you don't. There's no chatter on the radio.
These are officers.
There's no chatter like that on the radio.
In that particular instance, that was the Nimitz, and they were recording, interestingly enough, right off of Jacksonville, Florida, where they have a history of a lot of these craft. In particular, that sphere that was seen hauling ass over the water that was filmed by that same crew. A lot of weird metal sphere stories in Jacksonville. A family supposedly found one in the 1970s. Cookies shaped like a sphere.
Now, do you think these UFOs are created here, or do you feel in your belief that they're from another planet? They're from somewhere else?
So, again, I think these UFOs, and through my own experiences, have something to do, again, with that same trigger that allows us to interact with Bigfoot and ghosts, poltergeists, etc. But I also have something I affectionately call B theory. And people who are familiar with my work have probably heard me talk about this once or twice. B theory first came to me while I was traveling in Morocco. I met this super strange character who told me all kinds of weird stories, but essentially told me that his dad was in the CIA, and there was a little bit of confirmation, nothing concrete, but a little bit, and that he knew people who flew UFOs. And he was like, "Oh yeah, I know pilots, I can get you a ride." And he never did get me a ride on that UFO, but but he told me that they based the UFO technology off of honeybees, that they found an anti-gravity chamber inside the thorax, is what he said, of the honeybee that allows them to float. And I, that was crazy. So I kind of booked that in my memory. And, 5 years later, when my book came out, I had written that in like a one little paragraph, one-off about the Nazi bell, and possibly that the Nazis had discovered UFO technology. And, bell kind of looks like a bee's thorax. So, maybe if it is something as simple as bees, maybe the Nazis did discover it. Well, a podcast host, booked me on the show, picked up a copy of the book, read that, and it jumped out at him. Because he had a friend when they were kids, and this friend's dad was what he would told the kids he was a man in black, and that's all they knew. He had something to do with UFOs and the government, and he couldn't tell them anything more. And when this man was on his deathbed and the son asked him for more information, the only thing he would say was, "Look at the bees, look at the bees." And they had always thought it had something to do with how bees communicate until they read this little paragraph in my book. And so I did a bunch of research on bees, and there are some weird things about how they fly. There's some strange behaviors.
If you want to talk deep about bees, Dr. Wu's your man. He would tell you his theory about bees and the Lost Ark Covenant.
Yeah.
where they supposedly
Yeah.
kept the 10 Commandments. He would
And
tell
I've
you
been
that it
overseas.
wasn't the 10 Commandments; it was bees.
Well,
So
I've been over in Europe, so I bees, man. For some synchronicity, we talk about synchronicities. There's the Mandela effect phenomenon. That I've been experiencing things have changed, and one of the things I've changed was bees. Constantly with these changes with the bees, and I was in Manchester, and I would like one morning wake up, and there would be this building, and I said we had drinks at that bar or that pub yesterday. And you can't tell me that somebody snuck and painted that fucking bee on that wall last night. And I went over to examine the paint, and it's fucking old. Bees turning up everywhere. And
So
it's
I've got a document I gotta send you.
oh yeah, God, I love to see it.
It's on my Patreon where I publish my research monthly and these dossiers, and this one's all about this connection between bees and UFOs.
Yeah.
So to the kind of end of, well, not the end, it's ongoing research because it's my most synchronistic research because shit keeps popping up about it. But I found the memoirs of this Russian scientist, Dr. Viktor Gorbachev, and he's an entomologist, a bug scientist. And he writes about all of his achievements in entomology. He discovered this strange CSE effect that gives off it's like a special electromagnetic field that's given off by insects and insect nests, which might be connected to your synchronicities in a weird way. There's some weird stories with that. But he also writes about this strange flying craft he built. And he says he built it out of the parts of insects, heavy insects. He noticed that the wing covers, and he wouldn't say the specific type of insect because he was worried that people would, start harvesting them en masse, which is interesting to think about when you consider the bee populations today, and the increase of UFOs seen in the sky.
Mm-hmm.
But he basically looked at these wing shells and noticed that under the microscope, they'd hover for a second before they come to rest on the glass. And so he stitched a bunch of them together in these blocks. And when he would tap these blocks, they would fly up to the ceiling and kind of float back down. And so he got a bunch of these blocks and strapped them to the bottom of a pallet. And it really does look like a pallet with like scooter handlebars. And he reported that this craft would fly and it would haul ass. But when he was operating it, people wouldn't look up and see a man standing on a flying pallet. They'd look up and they'd see these bright discs and triangle shapes and long cigar tube shapes. These different colors and, reflective lights and things like that. And the areas he operated the craft began to be inundated with poltergeist activity. They would have, weird knocking, strange voices. If he dropped something off the craft while he was flying it, that area beneath it would be filled with poltergeist activity. He dropped a vial once, and he found it fused into a window. Speaking of windows, this is something that John Keel noted in the Mothman case. In the areas where he was operating the craft, there would be these tiny little holes, these perfectly round holes melted into people's windows, and they'd be melted on the edge. You could see that it was some kind of heat. And again, Gorbachev, scientist from Siberia, no connection, no knowledge of any of this stuff. And he's saying, oh yeah, I built this flying craft and all this paranormal stuff happened. And the reason it jumped out to me is because the side effects he describes it's almost the same list I wrote about the connections between the paranormal and psychedelic experiences, how they line up. Viktor Gorbachev says, all these weird psychedelic side effects occur when I operate the craft. And it's almost the same list. Down to the time manipulation. He said he would fly this craft to his research fields and collect insect samples. And he would put larvae inside these glass vials, put them in his pocket, take the UFO back to his lab, and the larva would be fully grown. something that would take months, but they would happen inside
Wow.
his vial in a 2-hour little trip.
Well, looks like we got some questions. Flat Rock wrote, question: if you had the chance to do one of these, see a gray alien strapped down on a table, spend a night in a real demon house, make sure you have peanut butter, or face to face with a Sasquatch. So we'll start with Connor. What of the three would you want?
See, face to face with a Sasquatch. You know, I wouldn't want to see a gray alien strapped down on a table. You know, that's just, it's interesting, of course, but that means I'm next to some lab coat guys that probably gonna try to blackmail me.
That
So
feels
no,
wrong,
I
know. It
got
feels so
nothing with
wrong.
that. Spend a night in a real demon house. Been there, done that. Face to face with a Sasquatch. You know, that's what I'm always after. That's what I've had in my past. That's what I have in my future. So, of course, C. That's what I'm made for.
Well, how about you, Tyler? Which of the three you want?
I'm going to go with C because, like I said earlier, I'm in the woods all the time chasing after the skunk apes. My thing, dude, and that's what I'm about. A gray alien strapped to a table, like Connor said, lab coat. I ain't about it. But a demon house, noster, because those things will follow you home. I don't need that in my life. I'll pass on that.
Well, Matt, what about you, Matt?
Well, you know, I'm probably going to go with C as well. Listen, man, there's one thing that, as far as extraterrestrials go, I want nothing to do with gray aliens. And I'm being 100% real with that. I want nothing to do with them. I want nothing. I listen, you can say it's strapped down on a table. I want nothing to do with it. It could be in a Faraday cage. I want nothing to do with it. Okay? Don't even get me started on gray aliens, but
What do you think, Chaz?
I'm definitely not in that house either, so.
What do you think, Chaz? What do you want?
I'm definitely A. I disagree with you guys all the way. It's about time we have a chance to probe them back. I'm gonna get all up in there. I think ironically when it comes, well, let me say first, B also. I've spent some time.
Hey, grave lives matter.
yeah. Well, you know.
It depends on the shade.
Chaz, you know what, Chaz? I agree with you. Listen, I know Sasquatch's real. Seeing him face to face ain't gonna change nothing for me. Maybe piss my pants or shit in my pants. But at least with the alien on the board, maybe I can save him. Maybe by saving him, he'll be like Paul. And, you know, give me fortunes, give me powers or something. Yeah, let me fly in the spaceship.
Yeah, I think
I'm gonna save his ass.
I think the having a physical gray would answer a lot of these questions. I guess having a physical Sasquatch would too, but you just said face to face, so that doesn't count. That's not.
No, Chaz, you're right, because Bigfoot's Bigfoot's part of this planet. A gray alien is not. There's more. Hey, Bob, what do you pick, Bob?
They all could be from a different planet.
Oh, I have.
What would you pick, Bob?
I'd pick the alien because it goes back to Chaz's bee thing. I have a bee theory myself, as you heard in many of our shows, which is a fucking weird coincidence, by the way. I have a lot of questions, especially about the anatomy. I don't think they're real. Obviously, I think they're synthetic in the way that they're just machines. They're made, because we're moving into the direction of we're manufacturing cells and living tissue. We're making it. We're in the direction, and I can see in the future so these things could be manufactured living.
It's interesting you say that, because that's someone I was on a podcast earlier, maybe last week. Forgive me, I smoked too much to remember which podcast it was, but they were saying that they had a guest on who was talking about how bees were seeded here by extraterrestrials, that they were placed on the planet. Misty Bowers, you can find that on patreon.com/Chaz of the Dead. Go to chazofthedead.com for all my other articles and stuff.
Now, I'm trying to understand, is this a question? Is Young Guns our movie? Young Guns?
Yes, it is a movie.
There's two movies, Young Guns 1 and 2.
Yeah.
They're just movies basically about a younger group of cowboys versus the older groups. It's
Didn't they do a remake too, like in like the 2000s?
Yeah. They were part 2. It's pretty good.
well, they haven't.
Heard what's his name?
Young
Who was
Guns
the hockey
and Young
coach in
Guns
Mighty
2, they
Ducks.
haven't remade the Young Guns series. No, Young Guns 2.
Shit.
Yeah, they're the only one so far.
I'm thinking Magnificent Seven. Forgive me.
Yeah, and let me see here. Well, hell, for that rock, I don't want to be probed for sure. So I guess Cowboy's talking about getting probed.
Well,
let me
you
see
said he
now.
was strapped
He wants
down.
some gray babies.
Listen, I'll get
what's
probed if I can get my evidence. I'm willing for that swap.
Eric, you say
Nope.
them?
I'm not down for that swap.
Here's
That is
the-
not equal.
here's the
That is
question.
not an equal
How
change.
does-
That's
how does
one
Connor
direction.
eat
That's
like that
one
and not
flow, not
like me?
reverse flow. No, sir.
So Connor, how come you can eat but you don't look like the cowboy?
I have very high metabolism.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
I pace around a lot. I
Emphasis
have so
on the
much
high.
going on in my head that I'm like King Jong-un. You know, I don't even have to go to the bathroom. It just, just absorbs off of me, my thoughts. But no, honestly, I eat a lot of junk food. I eat a lot of fruit. I drink a lot of water. I don't drink soda. I stay very active. But I think it's all mind over matter. I've always been skinny and always just had a motor, just boom, 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 boom. I don't need coffee. I don't need cocaine. But, hey.
Wow,
You know.
I need my coffee.
Yeah.
Well, Amber's Paraworld, who's going to be on next week, she came in late. She wants to know, not to sound rude, who is Chaz? So Chaz,
Call my ass out, Amber. I see
where-
you.
What shows can she see you on? If people are here, you missed it.
I've been featured on over 25 something podcasts from Mysterious Universe over in Australia.
What's the name of your podcast if she wants to find it?
I do mostly writing. I do have a podcast out there. You can find all my stuff at chazofthedead.com. I write for
chazofthedead.com.
Paranormality Magazine, Fringe.fm as well, and got my book out there. Yeah, I'm around commenting and popping up here and there. I'm currently working on my second book that's going to be more local to Florida. But yeah, just lots of weird research. You can check out all my stuff at Chaz of the Dead. Oh, there it is.
There you go.
There's a list of the podcast there.
I'll put this in the chat. I'll put this I'll put the website there.
But I think if you scroll
Let's
down,
check
there's
that
a
out.
bee article. I think there is an article about the bees recently, from maybe a month ago.
Can
So
bees
there you
unlock
go.
the secrets to anti-gravity?
So if you want a little teaser, I'll send you guys the full document. But if you want a little teaser to the document, that's one of the stories.
Well, like I said, in this timeline, well, not mine, but in this place, the pharaoh of Egypt was labeled in their own language the beekeeper. He was the beekeeper, and he wore a hat. Believe it or not, people don't know that. They're like, huh?
I didn't know that.
The pharaoh is labeled the beekeeper.
Interestingly enough, in Grabinikov's research, he initially stated that he wasn't going to say what kind of insect it was, but later on wrote that he found this anti-gravity function and pattern in almost all heavy insects, from beetles to bees to scarabs and things like that. So again, and especially in the occult schools of Egypt and things, you have these insects that pop up and are deified and have something to do with those secret schools and that lost knowledge. So again, if it is something as simple as Grabnikov said, he just tied a bunch of bead parts together and he could float blocks. So, maybe you could float a pyramid block that way. Who knows?
Yeah.
Who is that guy?
Talked about the bees
Who
a
is
lot
that
as
guy?
well.
Who is this? Who's that man standing right there?
Oh,
Looks like Dr. Woo.
that's me without a beard a long time ago.
Yeah, those are some Smithsonian days. You had to be
Yeah,
all
that was the
dapper.
that was the aviation museum I worked at.
That's when I saw you on my 8th grade trip. You were the one chasing after me because I was chasing for the giant skeletons.
Yeah.
What?
I
That's
grew a
wild,
beard
bro.
around 2015, and I hadn't stopped yet. I grew a beard after that.
What
Those were
aviation
my
museum
kids.
was it?
Oh, I worked at Museum of Flight. So I worked at first place. I worked at Smithsonian Institute. Then I worked at Fort Lewis Historical Museum. Then I worked over at Museum of Flight, Aeronautical Museum. So I worked there for almost a decade. Yeah, and then
That's
everything
cool.
got weird. Got real weird, real fast, real weird. I saw some weird shit. Well, I'm not gonna go into it, but I saw the engine start moving parts and things were moving. This plane changed, and I'm like, what the fuck happened here? Why is this wing skinnier? And all the technologies started getting all weird and changing on me, and I said I had to go. This is getting weird, man. I go research. Something's going on. Something's going on. The veil is thin.
Mhm.
Oh wow, that's way too generous, Misty. The buy into it's cheaper to do the Patreon. It's $1.50 is the lowest tier. If you that
Eric
will get you the
Eric will be able to share your Patreon too, because I have a Patreon as well, and I'm trying to build it up. So everybody get woke to Patreon, follow Chaz, follow me. We got exclusive content on there. But that's awesome by Misty. That shows that all the synchronicity and $20 is nothing for a little bit of truth. But it's a beautiful thing. Erin Rocca, she knows about the Obelisk disc. And then AAP, American Armed Patriot, the variety channel, guys. He does 420 prizes. He has paranormal stories. He gives away logos that are customized by other channels. Great place to be. You can find me in Squatch in South Florida there on some afternoons, in Amber's Paraworld, Chad Smith podcast. A lot of cool freaking people.
If you guys ever want to see a show of who could talk faster over each other, it would be Connor and Roca. Joey, Roca, and Connor.
Oh,
Holy
Joey,
shit.
Joey.
That's a show on crank. I'll tell you,
Oh,
that
man.
really would be.
Joey is a unique. Joey doesn't believe in volcanoes, but he knows they exist, but they're not telling you correctly and how they function. That's how Joey's thing is. So Joey Roach is in the sidebar. He has a whole thing about because he's in Hawaii. He's from Hawaii. He works born and raised in Hawaii. So he'll tell you the truth about volcanoes. He's also a flat earther. So that's why him and Connor get like, there's a whole really interesting stuff. I love the unique stories. You guys,
That's super interesting.
So,
volcanoes are hoaxes, and waterfalls are ancient plumbing systems. And again, all of the big football stadiums, even highways, they're on certain pressure points for a reason, to harvest our energy all day long, baby. And then you look at all the bombings and all the other major tornadoes. You can kind of read between the lines and see the future. It's pretty interesting.
Landlines. They put them on the landline or the whatever lines.
Ley lines.
Ley lines. Landlines. Ley lines.
Yes, Tyler. Because Tyler, I don't know if I ever asked you this question. Maybe I did or maybe I didn't. Tyler, what's the end game for you? I mean, what is the one thing where you could just finally sit back and say, I'm done. I don't need to research anymore. What is that one thing for you?
It'll never stop.
Never stop?
My ass will be out there in a wheelchair, man. I'll do it.
Very good.
You're an outdoorsman. It's just a lifestyle for you.
Yeah.
You're just enjoying the healing of the forest. And yes, there's Sasquatch, there are fairy, and there are even geocaches, man-made stuff that get us to look for treasure out there. So, just aim for what you see, and you get everything. And I feel like us four, man, we've came together on that. It's all vibrations, and maybe that's why the forest is kind to us, because you got to open your perceptors. You got to break down them walls. You got to listen to a little Pink Floyd and take some, potions, experiments.
Micro. He's talking for our audience. I always put a disclaimer out there. He's talking about micro dosing, which is in a controlled setting with people that are experts in the field. Do not go out and get wasted. Micro dosing.
In my experience,
James says,
both of those, microdosing is more effective.
Yes, microdosing.
I think James is telling Tyler that when Bigfoot follows him home and stays in his backyard, I guess. So that's what James thinks that's his end game. So Matt, is there an end game for you, or are you the same way? No matter what, even if you saw Sasquatch face to face, even if you shook his hand, is that going to be it for you? Or are you going to keep going no matter what?
Well, I've already seen a Sasquatch face to face. I ain't worried about that. End game, I don't really have one, man. I'm gonna keep pushing and pushing and pushing until we're on fucking news stations, till we change history books. That's my goal. We're gonna be the victors that they write about. That's my goal. And hey, if I don't get that, that's fine. You know, I understand that's a huge freaking end game, but I like to think about big picture. That's why, like, you know, the things that we're working on right now, like, that's why I was like, you know what, we're not gonna do this. This isn't just gonna be a YouTube video. You know, we're gonna do a film. We're gonna plaster this out. We're gonna make this clean and tight and as bulletproof as we can, and we're gonna shove it in the face of the world. And the world can either accept it or hate it. I don't give a damn. Anybody in any community can accept it or hate it. I don't give a damn. But this is what we fucking find. And when, you know, I'm absolutely tired of people within the community, society outside of the community, always being at odds and ends with this shit. And excuse my language, but I'm at the point where I'm fed up because, you know, it reaches the point sometimes where people are just reaching out to you to spread hate, and just for random stuff, you know, whether it's your work that you've worked on, guests you've had on your show, all kinds of stuff, man. And it gets nasty, it gets ugly, and I'm just tired of it, brother. I'm just tired. And you know what, man? Like, people are gonna start seeing the truth that this is all connected, one way or another. And if it's got to be over my dead body, then so be it.
Yeah, I don't like
Matt,
it.
Unfortunately, Matt, you're preaching to the choir, huh, Bob? We have people.
Yeah, I'm hated. I'm hated all over the place.
We became the most hated people. Some communities.
We're hated. Like, I'm hated. Shit, I'm hated with the Mandela effect. I'm hated with all. I hated with other science. I'm just hated because I'm honest, man. And when you're honest, it really pisses people off. It offends people.
I know. There's people who want you to believe it so much. When you're questioning something, they look at you like, you can't question me. You know it's real. No, I don't know it's real.
So my video that surfaced on YouTube that Connor was talking about, that hit 30,000 views. There's a BFRO investigator who lives like 15 minutes from here. And you figure someone who's big in the community, and it's especially something local that you would want to like put two heads together, you know, to build up on it to get more answers. But instead of just asking, you know, he just bashed my video, just said it was pretty much someone out there walking around in a suit. I'm just like, right, you're supposed to like be on my side about all this, and you are just bashing my shit, man. Like, what's up? And that's what that's what Matt's talking about. You know, it's
they won't get it.
Listen,
they don't get it.
This is a common misconception about people, is that they think that when people come out and they're being nice and they're trying to be all inclusive, that they can just walk all over you and push their opinions on you. And like, no, that's not how it works. Just because we're young doesn't mean that we're some impressionable and we're just following people blindly and just taking whatever they spew out of their, you know, people, these older guys are going to spew out of their mouths as truths. Right. We have our own truths. We have our own experiences. And guess what? Ours are going to last a little bit longer than yours. You spent 25, 30 years, whatever, pushing out your agendas. Well, guess what? We're going to put stuff out now, and it's going to last for 60 to 70 years. So, you know, kudos to you. And, you know, I respect your work, and I respect everything that, you know, everybody before me has done. And I don't mean to offend anybody with this. But like,
no, you're not.
The stuff has got to stop, man. Like the hate and all that's got to stop. And I feel like the only way it's gonna stop is if, you know, we pull together. And we do our own thing.
Prime example. You guys
this
watch
man right here, Joey Roca. Same guy. This guy became hated in the community.
Hated.
Just like what you're talking about, Matt. Just like what you're talking about, Matt. Joey was sticking up for what he believed in, and he got peed on. He got shit talked on. I mean, everybody turned their backs on Joey for having his own opinion. So I know exactly what you're talking about. I've seen it. I personally lived it. Joey, this guy.
And internet beef is one thing, but all four of us are here present internet wise, but we're also real life investigators, and we're at these conferences and at these campouts. So yeah, when you attack us, it's not just like a jab and a troll online. It's serious, and this is our church. This is our connection to the Creator. This is our life and death, and we also want to make this a job, a career. And just because their job market was so closed off back in the day before the internet, and they only had 6 different options, guys. Stop, being so closed-minded to the future and be embracive, or embrace us instead of abrasive. Many people in this chat have, taken us a little bit under the wing, or just being supportive, but it's with you or it's through you. And again, we are going to be carrying on for the next few decades, man, and we've already made our impact in the first few jabs. So wait till the haymakers come around. And then just wait for the future, because only time will tell, man.
Yeah.
I agree, Connor. So I always hate that word, under the wing. Nobody's under the wing. Everybody's sharing information. There's some people that have been doing it a little bit longer, and they're telling you all the information they have done throughout the many years that, their age is.
Yeah.
There's nothing about throwing under the thing. Listen, everybody, that's the problem. Everybody thinks they're an expert. And most people who spotted a Bigfoot, none of them were experts 30, 40 years in the field. Mm-hmm. Some of them saw UFO, paranormal, and they were studying nothing about it. It's just being there at the right time and right place. That's what it is. It's not how good you track. I mean, how many stories you guys heard from people that never did any study of none of this?
Well, you have to believe it first.
It is. A lot of it has to do with luck.
Yeah, if they want you to see them, they'll make themselves known.
Yeah. You have to believe
they can smell you from a good ways away and watch you, and you don't even know it. I've heard numerous stories from people who have told me, like, so there's this one old man, me and him would stop around the woods like 2 or 3 in the morning. He lives like 45 minutes from here. And he was like, yeah, me and my grandson, we're just out here walking along this trail. I see this just odd looking tree stump. And I just kind of stood there and looked at it for a minute, and I took a few more steps to try to get a better look at it at a different angle. It was like that tree stump just stood up. It started walking. I'm like, what? And he's like, yeah, it walked, and he turned. And when he looked at me, he didn't turn it. He didn't have a neck. He's like, he rotated kind of at his waist to turn and look at me. He's like, he kind of kept his eyes kind of cut at me the whole time he walked away, and then he would slowly squat back down like we couldn't see him. And I'm just like, that's insane.
And I'm sure he's not an expert tracker. He's just a normal guy walking his kid.
He's an avid outdoorsman. He turkey hunts religiously like me. Yeah. He spends a lot of time in the bush, man, and that's how it usually happens.
Unless you're the cowboy, he's an expert. I'm busting my ass in the woods. Now, don't get me wrong. People bust their ass. I love that. But a lot of it is just being there at the right time and right place. Some of it is luck.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure if you did a percentage of all the experts, so-called experts, and all the people who aren't experts, I bet you the people who aren't experts have saw more Bigfoots, UFOs versus the experts.
Definitely.
I've told people 90% of the time I'm in the woods, nothing happens.
Mm-hmm.
Well, in my opinion, it's all about intent, right? If you're going out there with the intent, I want to see a Sasquatch, I want to prove it's real, or I want to prove it's not real, they are not going to be coming anywhere within 100-yard radius of you. You'll never know they're there. But if you have 10%. if you have the intent, the true intent, your heart's desire, before you cross that tree line, you say aloud to the freaking universe, hey, listen, I'm here to respect your home. I know that we don't always coexist, but I'd like to coexist. And you say some random stuff like that from your heart, and you tell them you mean no harm. Watch how your research changes.
Yeah.
Because I can tell you from experience, every time that I've gone out with the freaking intention of trying to prove something, nothing happened. I go out there just trying to have an experience and get to know them. Stuff happens. Now, you can take my word for it. You don't have to trust me. You don't have to believe me. But that's my experience. And unfortunately, people are going to sit there and they're going to bash that. They're not going to agree with that. They're going to say, oh, well, you got lucky. Let's see if they still think it's luck after the film comes out.
Here you go.
It's like
haters are going to hate.
The 90% of the time for me, nothing happens. That 10% is usually when it's downtime and I'm sitting around the fire and I just got my feet propped up, chilling, doing nothing, just listening to the woods, and the fire crackle and just enjoying nature. And that's usually when I'll hear, like something sounds like someone's out there popping their lips, like it's very distinct. Or like I'll hear wood knocks in the distance, or I'll hear like sometimes something like huffing across the river. And this is actually a few months ago. I was sitting on the river. It was probably about 4 a.m. I had a fire going, and I could hear something huffing at me across the river. And I stand up and I shine my light. The river to the other river bank is like 100 yards maybe. And I shine my light across the river, and I see a set of eyes, and it looked like you probably could have fit a hammer in between them. And they were facing forward. Natural predators' eyes face forward.
Well, Connor and I on our breaking news yesterday, we talked about a lot of UFOs being spotted, and I mentioned that out of 1,000 UFOs, only one needs to be real out of 1,000, just one, to prove that something's real. You can, you look at 1,000 times, you only need one to be real.
There was some crazy UFO footage that was captured back in the late 90s, not far from me in Gulf Breeze, Florida.
Yeah, very familiar with that case. And they try to drag that guy, the guy who took the photos, through the through the muck and tarnish his rep. But you have dozens of other people from across the town who saw the same UFO, saw the exact same thing he photographed. So
it's like 45 minutes from here.
A good, that's a fascinating case, and it has some interesting connections to the case I'm working on now. Speaking of the 90s thing, though, I don't know if you guys want to do this here at the end. I just sent you in the private chat a Russian poltergeist video. If you guys want to check it out, it's very little views, not discussed too much outside of Russia. Again, part of my research club. But I thought to get some opinions, because this one divides me. Because there's some other videos I think from this case that are better, but this one's the longest, and it's it's up for interpretation. Let's say that much.
Hey,
while you guys talk, I'm gonna download it to make sure there's not some kind of a copyright on it.
You download the poltergeist into your computer.
Gypsy Road's coming off of a strike. He's done nothing but honor and show off different researchers in the community, and they end up taking it the wrong way and then setting YouTube off a strike. It's very sad things.
Gypsy just got off a timeout.
Came from a Bigfoot community too. A guy from a Bigfoot community.
What?
That went out
there.
It's all good. We just keep moving forward.
Dr. Wu, I got a question for you, sir.
Yeah.
Honest opinion.
Yeah.
What do you think about the Sierra Sounds?
The Sierra Sounds?
Yes.
Have you
ever
up in the Sierra? You mean the sounds in the
Ron
Sierra?
Moorheads.
Oh, well, they've changed significantly because of the fire. There's a lot, but I was telling when I was up there, just recently up there for a while, and I heard a lot of the knockings. I heard the knockings and the clankings and they're down in there. They're in small spaces now. There's some green belts up in there, but a lot of it was devastated. But the sounds have changed significantly because of less forestation. But more birds than I've ever seen in my life. Birds I hear a lot of up there. You do hear a lot of coyotes. They've made their way up into those flat because they're eating all them carcasses. A lot more, I guess, a lot more smaller animals, you might say. So the sounds have changed, yes, massively, because of the different species that are moving into the areas that are burnt out in huge burn patches up there. It's a whole new ecosystem going on there now. So a whole new set of sounds. That would be correct if that was your question. Yeah, it's a whole new set of sounds.
Well, because in Ron Moorhead's sounds that he captured, Connor, what year was that?
I think in the 70s or something. But it's
70s.
Really cool samurai chatter that they're conversating back and forth with these Sasquatch beings, and it's dark, deep, guttural voices and kind of growls and tongue clicks. It's very cool, and linguistic professionals have looked at it, and they've showed that the human capacity, the vocal cords cannot even reach those limits. So it's just it's amazing, and Ron Moorhead makes himself accessible, so it's a very cool thing in the community. But Matt has recorded similar sounds. There's been hundreds of other samples that are very similar. Texas Front Porch and Bigfoot Rob are also in here. Bigfoot legends, Sasquatch researchers that have really blazed the trail for us young guns. So much respect. And they are some of the older folk that have taken us under and embraced us. So I definitely respect and salute them.
Absolutely.
Well, they mimic sounds. They mimic sounds. And because you have a whole new ecosystems of different species of animals in there, the younger ones are going to mimic the sounds of the animals that are moving up into the areas. For example, I heard a lot of coyotes yakking and yakking up in the hills. Like, they're down low. Coyotes are low. They don't go up in the mountains. However, you're like, those fucking coyotes? They're making their way up there. And the young hominid, I call them hominids, you guys call them Bigfoot, they could be mimicking the animals that are in the areas now, and they're changing their vocal sounds. So they can screech like birds, like hawks. They'll mimic the sounds of coyotes, gackles, and hackles, kind of like just making their screams in the air. Wolves are gone, but they're making their way back. But they mostly mimic those smaller animals now. If it sounds right to you guys, they mimic those sounds. They're a high pitched whining cry sounds, and they clunk a lot when they hit the trees. They like to tap 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 trees, but they're doing their howling. And remember, they just found the larynx. They thought that the Neanderthal could not speak. They were dumb. They're like, no. Now they found in one of they actually found a larynx, and it's large, and it's enough to make growling loud, like bigger than a regular human, which means it's solid loud. Yeah. Well, that's what probably the Sasquatch has, because they don't have much of a neck. They don't have a neck. It's like a head on shoulders, which would be the reason why their larynx was so large. And they have big chests, so they would just sound it out like a damn trumpet.
Yeah, like a bullhorn.
Oh yeah, they can make this. So, and the youth will be mimicking the sounds of animals. So it's amazing.
So I do a lot of turkey hunting every year, and hoot owls are a good natural turkey finder, because turkeys will gobble to a hoot owl early in the morning. And I have this old, hoot tube that from back in the day. He's an old timer, famous turkey hunter. His name was Eddie Salter. He had this thing called a hoot tube, and you blow into it, and it can mimic the sound of a hoot owl. Well, there was one morning I'm standing in the woods turkey hunting, and I was getting ready to blow my hoot tube, and the owl started going out. And you get a couple hoot owls going in with one another, it sounds like a bunch of monkeys going back and forth. Well, that's what it sounded like, but then I heard another one that just sounded much louder and like
Yeah, they're mimicking them.
it was odd. And then it tried to hit like a super low tone, and it sounded like someone was out there damn coughing on grapes in the woods or whatever, just like coughing and whatnot. And I've never heard anything like that in my life.
Yeah, they're mimicking this. They're practicing.
Yeah.
Probably the young ones are mimicking the sound. They're learning how. It's probably how they speak. You know, natives, indigenous peoples mimic the sounds of animals in the forest, and that's how they spoke to each other at distances without getting caught. You know, that's how they killed. You know, I'm not saying they out killed white men, but they hunted each other and other natives and anybody invading in their territory. But they spoke to each other using animal sounds.
Yeah.
And they would have different sounds in between the animal sounds, as like a little clicking of a word or a direction, or it's kind of a great way of communicating. And so the hominids, the Sasquatch or the Bigfoot, they're doing the same thing. They're doing exactly the same thing.
Yep.
You probably had that. You probably had a couple of young ones out there talking to each other or practicing.
Let me mention Chaz's video that he's talking about.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
did check a background. So far, there's not a copyright on it, but this is what I'm gonna do. You guys aren't gonna see it here. You're gonna have to come back tomorrow on my breaking news to my paranormal segment to see that video he's talking about.
Love it.
You're gonna have to come back tomorrow at noon.
Pull the mat. You gotta wait for it.
Teaser.
That's a teaser.
It's a good
Yeah.
one, right? It's a weird
Real good
video.
one.
Well, the thing is, when I do a copyright check on it, and I let it usually go overnight, because the next day I double check it to make sure that there's something
God, I
on
hope
there
it's not
that
copyrighted. I wrote a whole story
a lot
about
of
it.
things with Russian,
Good.
a lot of things with India, Russian title on it is banned in a lot of countries. It might
Come
not
at
be
me,
banned
Russia.
like here.
I'm not afraid of you. ETs, Men in Black, Russia, whatever, man.
But I will show it
Fuck, I gotta
tomorrow
lose.
on my breaking news. But beyond that, okay, we're getting close to the end here. So what I like to do before we always end, I always kind of like go around the table and let everybody say what's coming up. You know, if they got a show coming up, what they're doing over the weekend, to let people know. So we'll start with the top row first. We'll go all the way around to Bob. So Connor, what do you got coming up?
I've got a bunch of podcasts that I'm going to be a guest of that I'm very excited. Of course, you guys know about my movie, The Void Cat. Soon is going to be available to the public to purchase and watch and rent. It's doing very well in festivals right now. It's a werewolf movie that I'm the main character of. And then, of course, Zillafoot. Matt just watched it. He said he barely made it through. He had to just survive till my part. But it's a kaiju cult classic that did so well online that it's in Best Buy, Walmart, and probably Walgreens soon. But it's free on Amazon Prime, so you can watch it. And just don't blame me, man. My scenes were good. I worked really hard. I was, strong in my message, but can't speak for everybody. But, man, I got a lot of big things planned. From Fear to Understanding, the documentary with Matt. I'm really excited to be with it. We got some crazy footage in the Green Swamp. We're going to use some of our findings from Mayaca. We're going to hit up a lot more of the hot spots around here. I've already lined up a few witnesses to talk to. So you guys know me. Boom, 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 boom. I've uploaded like 10 hours of hiking footage the last 6 days. So, I'm grinding. But I'm speaking at an event June 4th with Phyllis Caesar. She's putting it on, and all these guys are going to be there. It's going to be super dope. Just big things planned, of course. Buy my newest book, Eerie Swamps, Road Trip to Eden. Beyond the Fray put out the newest edition. It's super dope. It flows very well. I have a Patreon account, so please subscribe to that, Bigfoot Anon, for exclusive content. And I saw Amber made a joke like that. Patreon is like the fancy OnlyFans. Patreon is like the man's OnlyFans. We're not even showing all any privates or anything. We're just trying to have a website too that we can maybe generate some gas money. Come on. But yes, let's just all support each other. And Amber is freaking awesome. I know her and Matt have been doing some side experiments that have yielded some awesome results, man. And it's really cool to see your friends become friends with the other friends, and it's just like a big friend orgy.
Yes.
But yes, big things planned, man, as you guys know. And I'm hopefully changing my name from Bigfoot and 9 to something real cool. But
awesome.
Yeah, that's going to be tough, though, because I have a lot, like hundreds of interviews with my old name. And, you know, a couple people will get lost in translation, but it's all about the future.
It'll work out. What about you, Tyler? What do you got coming up?
So I'm just, doing my normal daily grind, working and staying in the woods as much as I can. But I've got actually a new lead from a gentleman who hunts on some public land not far from here. All I'm going to say is where these two rivers meet, but he has been watching like a family of these skunk apes in the woods. Like he has seen the little ones grow up to be big ones, and
That's awesome.
when he told me something that struck me very odd. He said, "Please don't tell people where they are. I don't want anyone to go out there and hurt them."
Don't.
So why would someone say that if they're just making something up? And I went out there, stomped around. I found some impressions, found some dead carcasses that were all the rib bones were broke off the stair, and they were like clean, like all the meat was picked off of them. Coyotes typically would drag it off, or you'll find it out everywhere. All this was in a pile. So I found that very odd. But he's shown me some photos and stuff that he's captured sitting in his deer stand, and it'll make the hair stand up on your neck. Wow. And then we got the film coming up. I'm pretty excited about that. And like Connor said, he's got some spots planned out. I've got some spots planned out here. So it's going to be a jam up time. I'm stoked. I can't wait.
Cool.
That's awesome. What about you, Matt?
Let's see. Coming up on the channel, I got Mark Zasky next week from Crypto Reality. Awesome dude. Definitely go check him out on his channel. He's doing some pretty interesting work down here in Florida. After that, we got we're going to be doing the UFO panel. Hopefully, we'll have Chaz and Bigfoot and Non, and hopefully some of the guys from Paranormal Chop Shop who frequent over there. Hopefully they'll come on. Then we have next week I'm also going to be doing a panel show on Amber's channel. I think Connor's going to be there too, aren't you, brother?
Yes, I will. I'm really excited.
That's going to be a lot of fun. We got the film coming up. Just doing my normal. Yeah, man.
So exciting.
I'm working on a couple side projects, getting gear ready, getting supplies ready to get this stuff done finally and get it out. My goal is to have the film completely done and released on multiple platforms by September, and that's my goal.
I'm glad you said that, because speaking of that, there's some stuff I wanted to mention about the film, some suggestions before you decided to try to roll it out, because I was briefed on some good stuff.
Well, the easy work is the filming part. The hard work is
the hard part's the
editing.
editing.
Getting it together. That's the hard work.
The editing, the promoting, the producing, that's the stuff
that's where the magic
is. Time consuming. Yeah, man. That's where the magic is, but it's also the most time consuming and tedious part of the whole thing. Yep. But that's okay with me, because like I told these guys, as far as what happens. All right, so this is most likely going to be the realest film that you're going to see, regardless of what happens, good, bad, towards our own personal narrative and towards our own goals. It's what it is. It's going to be the actual scenes of what goes on is going to be very, very minimal editing, maybe just like some stabilization and stuff like that. Other than that, we're not editing a damn thing, where I am going to put everything just like it is. Cool. And other than that, man, just, trying to keep networking, keep trying to reach out to new people, learn more about this crazy world that we live in.
It's a comic book world. What about you, Chaz? What do you got coming up?
So yeah, you can find all my stuff, social media. I'm at Chaz of the Dead, chazofthedead.com. I'm still turning out articles for Paranormality magazine and Fringe.fm. They've got some cool shows over there. You guys should go check out. I'll also be appearing on Sam Tripoli's Tinfoil Hat podcast sometime in the next. I know the interview's next week, but I don't know when it'll drop. March sometime. So go check that out. I'll also be in Savannah at the Savannah Paracon on February 24th, walking around giving out Paranormality buttons and stickers and stuff. So come say hi to me there. And yeah, I'm working on a second book coming out, top secret. Once the research is done, I'll be glad to come back on and talk all about it, because it is a wild story that some people might have heard, but they haven't heard the whole story yet. So I'm glad to be the one to present it. So yeah, follow me for all that stuff.
Chaz, you got to get back on your TikTok grind, bro. I used to really admire your TikToks of the haunted places, bro. Like,
I was trying
even
to do
before
one
we
today.
met, that was something I look forward to all the time, man. So get back to it. Again, all you guys, get on your TikTok grind. Me and Amber's Para World, we blazing the freaking trail for y'all.
I've got a
And
dozen drafts.
Come on. Once y'all get 1,000, y'all can go live with us. I just hit 60K, guys. Come on, hop on my back.
I'm at 1,500. Let me hop on a live.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's do it. We should
Guys,
get it
I
right
got all
here.
their information in the description. All their links in the description. I just added Chaz, his website. It's in the description. So, Dr. Wu, the hardest man to ever get a hold of sometimes. What do you got going on?
I switched over to another account for a little bit. I'm on the Crow. I have a Crow account. I like it because there's less people, and so it's Crow. It's KR, and it's a O that you would only see in the Netherlands. So it's that special kind of 0/O. Crow, King Robert Wood. Anyway, yeah. So I'm on that one, and I've just been doing philosophical conversations, just talking. I've been doing. People have been asking me questions about the legends, and I'm telling people the changes I've seen in everything from mythology to Bible, suppose alleged changes, like I use the word, if you're into the Mandela effect phenomenon, and certain new things that have come to light when it comes down to the reasons why things have changed from the past to the future, where we're headed with reverse, as in like masculine to feminine and cultures. A lot of things are reversing themselves, and I'm presenting evidence and telling people this is what I'm telling you why. For example, Eric, I use, like, people remember Tom Cruise with the white shirt, and the sunglasses, and now he's sliding across in a pink shirt with no sunglasses, and he basically looks like a pansy now. He's Nancy. So a lot of masculine males in this culture, in our culture all the way up to now, have become more feminine in the movies, somehow due to the phenomenon, the Mandela phenomenon, if you're into that. And the same thing is going on with, I just recently talked about Zeus, and I've never heard of Zeus ever being usurped, ever, by all the gods, including his wife, Hera, and locked away for a period of time. I've never heard of that story. I took it to university. Theology, I've never heard of Zeus ever being usurped. He's been attacked, but he's never been taken out by his own family of gods, then locked away, and they had free reign of everything. So I'm telling people about the new mythology stories if you've never heard of those alternative stories. So that's kind of what I'm doing right now.
That's
Basic
awesome.
research on, like, the brother of Moses now is pretty dominant in the Bible. The brother, not Moses, but his brother, older brother, which has, and his kids and his descendants now, they call them the sons of Zadok, or which are also showing up in the Torah, which have a lot to do with what we would have changes, they're considering changes, and a lot to do with magic that I've never heard of anybody performing in the Torah before. But these crazy stories that no one's ever heard of.
It's weird times. I mean, movies,
Yeah.
TV shows now are showing Medellas. I
They're
think
showing a
yesterday
lot of
I
it,
showed a small clip of a movie that's not out yet called Studio 666 of a guy remembering doing a song 20 years ago and forgot that he wrote a song.
Yeah.
In a movie called Studio. I mean, so it's there.
Yeah,
But
I'm doing the more
guys,
complex ones, like the theology one, like the ones not these ones with you know the whatever he lost his tail or the dash and tic tac.
Yeah,
I'm
you're
talking
going
about
to-
the
you're going
actual
deep stuff. Deep tracks.
history
Fun.
ones that are constantly
You're
changing.
doing
I mean,
deep tracks.
yeah, the
I'm
deep
doing deep
dark
tracks.
ones.
And Chaz, real quick, can you talk about your magazine? Amber was asking about it, but I also want to shout, next cover. Come on, hit me up, bro.
Absolutely.
Tell your whole staff just to watch this show because Matt has an incredible show going on. Dr. Wu and Eric are incredible legends, and freaking Tyler's in the woods 5 days a week. So I think there's
gonna
something
be in
in
touch
every
with all
avenue.
you guys because we're looking to put on our own conference. The magazine is here in Florida, maybe towards the end of this year. So we're
Cool.
looking for people to talk about their stuff. So yeah, definitely.
Yeah, bro.
That's,
Let us know.
Paranormality Magazine. You can find them at Paranormality Magazine on the social medias. You can find links to it on my website as well. My articles
And his link's in the
will
in the
link right to it.
description. And
Yep,
his link in
links
the description. And, then
And does your
tomorrow-
girlfriend write for them too?
No, she's just very supportive.
Yeah, she's awesome, man. I don't know if I mentioned it on the pre-show, but we were all out in the park. Yeah, no, I said it on this show, but we were all out in the parking lot, guys, telling crazy haunted stories, drinking
Wow.
brewskis, spliffs. Like, I'm not a tobacco smoker, but if Chaz of the Dead rolled it up, twisted it up, then it is my freaking honor. I felt like I was with Dr. Wu because I know how he does it over in the UK.
And guys, I'm always working. As soon as I get off of here, I got to work on tomorrow's breaking news. So I'm constantly working, getting stuff ready together. And beyond that, we're gonna end this show. I want to thank this panel. It's fucking awesome. Young Guns Part 2, and we will do a Part 3, and maybe we'll get more on. Maybe we get more young people say,
We
I
need
wanna join
Chad
this
Smith.
panel.
We need Josh from Trippy Times. My homie Evan from Occult 45. There is a lot of young people doing this. There is hope in the future, and we are well researched, and we are boots on the ground, and we are together. We have bonded. We get close to each other when we're camping and sharing thoughts that break us down to just who we're supposed to be. I love it.
It's simple facts. New blood has new ideas, and that's what we're here to learn. New ideas.
And he got the bees, man. He knows about the bees.
I know.
Yeah,
You're
the first.
The lost art. But beyond that, guys, I gotta end the show. I want to say thank you guys very much, and man, we'll see you guys tomorrow watching the Russian paranormal video that he gave me.
Hell yeah.
Here tomorrow. See you guys later.